Hi, I'm Mark. I'm the spiritual advisor for Marc Healing Arts. And today's topic is how do I overcome my defeated thoughts? For some of you who are so sensitive right now, even when dealing with the energies, I know I mentioned that a lot, that today probably, if you're in touch with it, is a really sensitive day. The mind is such a powerful tool on how we use it, on how we handle it. It's a computer. It's what we're programming it in. But I also would like to mention, dealing with the mind is whatever we're feeding it. The mind now has a program. And when it has a program, it remembers things that you have said. Old fears could come back, new fears. And what do we do with all this? Some people are looking for jobs right now, right? They can't find a job and they're having a hard time. Some people are in bad relationships. Some people are having both. So everyone has their own challenges and obstacles to deal with in everyday life. But take it as part of the journey. Enjoy the journey of it. I learned even about myself is not to be so hard on myself. And I work really hard at it. A man I really appreciate is Mr. Rogers. If some of you who remembered it when you were children like I was, and I watched him on TV, and I always felt special watching him on TV, feeling that, wow, he's really paying attention to me. And I like to say that we have a child inside of us who sometimes is afraid, insecure, not knowing what to do, how to handle it when we're dealing with everyday problems. And how do we deal with it? Well, today's topic is, how do I overcome defeating thoughts? Why I brought up Mr. Rogers, because Mr. Rogers, when I was a kid growing up, that he really worked on himself to be who he was. And I always try to work on myself to become a better person. I got more into health. I became a vegan again. Do more meditation. Do tapping work. That I did do that on a live stream video before, if you ever want to watch that. You know, it may look silly, but if you keep an eye on that and do it, you'll feel the experience of how your stress will really be under control. But now let's get into how do I control my mind so I don't constantly stress and worry and have anxiety. The moment you have a thought, doesn't matter if it's in the morning, afternoon, or at night. What you want to do is you want to trigger it. You want to get it before the birth of the thought. That means the moment you're feeling it, that's where you want to nip it in the bud right away. Because the more firepower we give it, the more we are not controlling our minds. Because the mind will throw out things and you will become overwhelmed with it and you won't know what to do with it. Because didn't you ever feel that I'm sure most of you have felt before? Think about this. Having something that could have been a stress. Any kind of stress. It could be about relationships. It could be about finances. It could be about going back to college or high school or whatever it is. and you constantly worry about it, and then you're not thinking about it anymore, do you ever notice you still feel it? Even when you're not thinking about it, because the energies are still there. So how do we defeat it? We want to go to the plunge of it. The moment you're thinking of it, think of the opposite way of thinking. And keep on working at it. Say it 4 or 5 times. So for a good example, if you're worried about finances, will my finances grow? Oh, I hope I can pay my bills next month. Well, first of all, we want to be careful of our words, because our words have power. We're sending off frequencies. Even scientists have proven that there is, through thought, that there are certain frequencies. So it's not always a spiritual thing. They proved it through evidence that every thought we have is a frequency. So how do we control that thought? Like I said before, you want to think the opposite way of having financial abundance. I don't care how much you want to visualize. I mean, let's not get too crazy and start saying $90 billion, but maybe for some people, 40,000 would be good. And visualize that abundance. And when you visualize that abundance, even though it's not there yet, you're attracting it. That's law of attraction. And one of the ways to keep your vibe up, your frequency up, is to keep on plugging away. Because you cannot get rid of a negative thought, but you can control it and you can put it in its place. And you'll see, when you keep on working at it, then you will see how your negative thoughts become weaker. And as they become weaker, the mind will start saying, I'm trying to throw these thoughts out, but now I feel different. So we have to stop the trigger, whatever's going on, whatever's happening at that moment. We want to trigger it in a different kind of way. We want to do what I do is I do reprogramming work. Reprogramming work works in a way that now we're changing our thought patterns. That's one of the big ways of defeating your thoughts. You're changing the way you're thinking and feeling. You could wake up one morning and say, hey, this thought that I had before, and now I'm thinking the same thought the next morning, and I'm not feeling the same. I'm actually feeling great. I'm feeling awesome. And that normally would bother me. Right, because we changed the channel, the way we're thinking, feeling, and believing. I'm not going to say these negative thoughts are not going to disappear. They're still going to be around. Well, we want to put each one in its own file. When we put each one in its own file, then we are controlling our mind. Because if we don't control our mind, those thoughts, those negative thoughts, those low frequency thoughts will take control of us. And then we'll live everyday life experience, feeling frustrated, annoyed, disappointed, aggravated. Start asking yourself and questioning to yourself, is it really worth it? You should give yourself some time during the day and say, you know what? I want to vent out what bothers me, even though, yes, it is negative thoughts, but I want to say, you're allowed and acknowledge the emotion. Acknowledge it. Really, really important to acknowledge the emotion. But make goals for yourself and say to yourself, this is the time to be happy and start taking control of our minds. I know there are a lot of drastic changes going on in this world, but we could only change what's within us, and believe it or not, in ways, even though we can't stop what's going on around the world, but we could change our external environment and internal environment. We can do it. But the only way we're going to be able to do this, we have to start controlling our minds. If we start taking control of our minds, we keep our frequency up, and we will defeat these negative thoughts. Now, you want to play a game with it. At first, it may look like, well, let me see. Hi, Lisa. Hi, if I said it right, Nydia. So I got to put my glasses on here because my eyes aren't so great. But seeing that, hi, Marva. Hope everyone's doing well. Anyway, by controlling your thoughts, it makes a big difference on how it affects your lives. Now, let's play a game with it. Let's take a thought. I know I've thought, right? Like, let's go into a financial thing. Thinking about, oh, I hope I could pay my bills for next month. Well, you're speaking to the universe and you're telling the universe, money's probably going to be tight again. No. So the moment we want to do is change that thought to, I have abundance. Thank you, universe. I have abundance, and I have whatever amount you want to say. I have $40,000 in the bank. And keep on visualizing that and say, I have $40,000 in the bank. And keep on saying it verbally. Say 4 or 5 times. Another negative thought, you change it into a positive, another 4 or 5 times, and keep on firing it up. And it's day and night partying, with your mind, because you're saying to your mind that you control your mind. The mind does not control you. Because if we don't get on it, so again, if we don't get on this thing, we're going to live our lives in stress. The body can handle stress to a certain point. I know there's happy stress, there's bad stress, there's good stress, but the thing is, we want to minimize our stress. We could take herbs, and herbs could help us relax our mind, but I would like to know who can stop you from thinking. It's totally impossible. It's totally impossible. How could you stop yourself from thinking? But when we take control of our minds, now that's a big difference. By doing this trigger work, remember, do not let this build. Because if we let this build, it's going to keep on controlling us. By feeling, sometimes you start to question yourself, I'm stressing myself out. What do I get for this? Think about it. What do you get for this? I would make a joke and say, you don't even get paid for this. So if you're not getting paid for it, it's making you feel terrible. Is it worth it? Is it really worth it? So it's okay to vent it out. Spend 10, 15 minutes, write a list of all the things that bother you. Vent it out, but now you're saying, now I'm doing this. And you'll see in time, not only will you learn to manage your stress, but you'll have it more under control. It doesn't matter whatever the circumstances are. Because even though you may be off at that moment, you may say to me, Mark, but I had a passing in the family and this was very hard to do at the moment. Yes, of course it is at the moment. And you grieve and all that, of course, and you go through stuff, but then you got to get on it. Oh, I lost my job. I couldn't do this right away because I was so stressed out. Yes, you're dealing with the situation. But how long so you said, how long do I want to feel this way? How long? And because the thing is this way, you want to remind yourself that you're okay. That's a really important thing. It may sound silly, but you want to remind yourself you're going to be okay. Because if you remind yourself of that right away, you give yourself some relief. But say it from your heart. You also want to make goals, like I mentioned to you, on how long do I want to vent out? And then doing this work. I'm making it as simple as possible for everyone because I know I work on myself all the time. I have my slips, but I'm in a better place now than I ever was. Besides, changing my diet and being a vegan, and not saying everyone has to be a vegan and change their diet to be a vegan, but whatever makes you feel good. But that's one of the things I did. But I really got on it, and the more and more I'm getting on it, the more I'm starting to say is, wow, I'm learning to manage my stress. It may seem like overwhelming in the beginning to do this work, but if you think about it, look how much harder you're working on stressing yourself out versus thinking positive and sending that out into the universe. So you're working less harder. You're not even really working that hard. I mean, you're working somewhat, but you're actually feeling good when you're doing this. When you get yourself stressed out, you don't feel good about doing it. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely don't feel great at all, regarding that. And think about it. That when is it going to be a time in your life where we want to take control of how we feel, how we believe, how we want to respond and act? Because the other way, the mind is going to keep on firing this up, and it gets very annoying, and it gets very intense. And then you say to yourself, I am so unhappy. I feel so unstable. And how now, with the energies being so intense out there, by throwing these negative thoughts, you feel 10 times worse. I don't know if some of you have actually experienced that. I know I have. So I learned to back up. Like today's a day of the energies purging. So this is a good day to throw out that positive thoughts out there. Because you deserve to be happy. And you deserve to take control of your life. And only you can do it. Not everyone can go around reading your mind if you're happy or not, unless if you show it facial, or sometimes by the vibration you could also do it. But this is the time to do it. Because as we get older, we want to be happier. We don't want to be like how we were when we were younger. If we worried all the time, is it really worth it? I don't think so at all. I don't think it's worth it. But to get on it, so just remember, the moment you feel it and you think of it, that's when you want to get right on it. Because if you get right on it right away, it'll change not only how you feel, and believe, but this could change your whole lifestyle around. You know, part of the ascension symptoms, I know I mentioned this in other live streams, that through the changes over that we're going through, when do we want to feel enlightened? Feel that enlightenment? Well, one of the things is, and this is a big thing, when we worry so much, here's the big key word here. One of the big key words is to surrender. You want to surrender, because when you surrender to the universe, I'm not saying not to do the work you need to do. Like if you need to look for another job, you look for another job. But the universe will meet you halfway. But when I say surrender is do your part, have faith, and knowing things will turn. Life never stays the same, as everyone knows. So just remember, just because like if someone's looking for a job right now and they can't find a job, that does not mean they're always going to be jobless. For some people, homeless. I've known people who are homeless, and let me tell you something, now they're living in homes. So anything impossible can be possible. But our minds are telling the story. If we think we're always going to be broke or homeless or jobless or never have someone in our life, that's what's going to happen. You're feeding the energies on what you want to manifest. Even though you don't realize it, you're giving it the power to continue on. And how could the universe help you? How could the energy and the universe help you if you keep on throwing the negative thoughts? Hey, Abby. So keep this all in mind and knowing that you have what it takes within you to do this. You know, some of us were brought up in a negative surrounding, negative families, and we felt like we have to act and behave like that. But we could change the way we're thinking into more of a positive way of thinking. But we want to stay strong. We want to stay focused. Be patient with it. Surrender. Ground yourself and live in the now. Because when you live in the now, you're living in the moment. You don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Not everything may go the way what we want in our life. But think of it, we're living in the frequency of positive energy. And that's what we're experiencing. The other way, if we think negative, even though some things didn't manifest the way we wanted it to, look what we're living in. So keep that in mind to overcome defeated thoughts. You can't get rid of them, but you can control them and put it one in each file. And when you start doing that, then you start controlling your mind. Don't ever let the mind control you. I know we'll make some slip-ups, and it's okay. So let me repeat this back to you one more time. Have faith, trust, surrender, live in the moment, and be patient with it. And it will come. I've seen a lot of miracles from different clients of mine, and they say, oh, I'm never going to get a job, I'm never going to meet someone, all this stuff. But meanwhile, when they changed their thought, it took some time, but it manifests for them. Sometimes we think the impossible could never happen. But God works in mysterious ways, and you never know what could turn around for you. But remember to enjoy and have that experience instead of having that low frequency experience of thinking in a negative way. But remember to keep on triggering it. You got to trigger it even when it first starts with your thoughts, because if you don't, your mind's going to override you. I hope everyone enjoyed today, what I share with you and really help you with your life. Because we're going through a hard time right now in our lives. And we can make it only better, and the only way we can make it better is from within ourselves. So just remember, we can't change other people. My father used to say to me when I first started doing my spiritual work, you can love people and support people, but you can't change them. But the only person you could change is yourself. And don't try to figure out what other people, and complain about other people, and do it out with other people, because you know what? We're still trying to figure ourselves out, and then we're trying to figure them out. So you also can love people, support people, but you can't change them. So keep that in mind, and try this. Have fun with it, and enjoy. This is part of the reprogramming work that I do for myself and for my clients and friends, family, etc., etc. And you'll see it'll make a big difference. But remember, don't be hard on yourself. Be loving to yourself. And knowing that things will work out. And remind yourself every day that things will be okay. I'll be here on a live stream really soon. So, please keep contact, with me or just watch it on Facebook Live. And I'm really glad that I expressed this. I hope you got a lot out of it. And until next time, blessings and love to everyone. I'm Marc the Spiritual Advisor. Have a beautiful day. Be safe. And knowing that you are loved and you are going to be okay.